Hey guys, my name is Cristo. I'm the CEO, the visionary and founder of I'm Recovering Ministries. Welcome, and let's have a chat. Basically, I'm a recovering heroin addict, heroin, crystal, meth, crack cocaine. I've been addicted for 8 years of my life, and then I found the rehab that actually helped me to find God and to find purpose in life. And I came to a point in my life where it was all about what's my purpose on earth? Why am I here? And that's when I met Julian, and our dreams collided. And we just had this awesome dream that we want to build an empire for addicts, people that has been cast out and thrown away and never get the opportunity to be who they want to be. And this year I celebrated my 9th year clean and sober from all substances, and we created I Am Recovering Ministries from a dream and a vision and prophetic word that was spoken over my life. And we believe in addict economical empowerment, where we can empower the addict to become someone, to be the same person that I am, and just achieve success in life. That's who I am, and what I stand for is always empowering the addict through opportunities and growth and inclusion into society. For too long we've been outcast, for too long we've been thrown away, for too long we've been overlooked by government, by society, by businesses, by churches, and all of that. We've been passed on as rubbish. And what I stand for and who I am is including the addict into society and into becoming someone. My story is, I come from a family. I've got 9 sisters, and I didn't really have the fair chance not to use. It was always freely available, and due to the rejection and the obstacles I faced in life, heroin became my scapegoat. So I started using it at a very young age. I started using it when I was 14. I completed school. I got 7 out of 9 distinctions, and it was all by the grace of God. I've never been a Christian. At the age of 21, I came to salvation. But the way I came to salvation is I lost everything in my life. I lost my family. I lost my job. I hit my rock bottom. And I turned to prostitution because I'm from a very proud and wealthy family. And I could not face myself or see myself standing at a robot begging for money. So I turned to prostitution and human trafficking. And I sold my body to get my next fix. And I remember one night speaking to my mom, saying, "Mom, I really need help. And this time I want help." I've tried treatment 63 times before that, and it never worked because I was never ready for it. In 2011, I finally gave up, and I said, this is where I need to stop, because if I don't stop now, my next destination is a ditch somewhere where my mom will have to bury me, and I cannot get it over my heart to do that to her. And she organized everything. She organized me a rehab, she organized intervention, and I said, there's no need for intervention. If you book me a ticket from Cape Town to Pretoria, I'll get you at Pretoria station, and you can book me in. And my mom organized me a ticket, and I got into the bus, and when I got to Joburg station, I went into full withdrawals. And I couldn't face the next 45 minutes of that trip without getting a fix. And the bus driver promised me that he will wait a few minutes, because I said there's something I need to do. And I went and I ran behind Park Station. And as I got there, I met some of my friends. And it was actually my high school love that was there. And I thought maybe this is God's intervention, God trying to save me from homosexuality and from prostitution, whatever. And I looked up with him and I said, "Listen, I'm not going to rehab right now. I think I found my cure." And that night we went out and we got drunk and we got high and we slept together. And a few weeks later, she said to me, she's not feeling fine. She's nauseous. She's moody. I said, don't tell me this.
Oh.
And I took her for pregnancy test and she tested positive. And it was when I was in atheism, I always had this imagination that you can bargain with God, that you can ask God and say, okay, you give me this and I will do this. And one of my bargains with God was, if you give me a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and big ears son, then I will go to rehab and I will fix my life. And 6 months into the pregnancy, she went into labor because she was still in active addiction. And I rushed her to hospital and doctors said that there's absolutely no way this child is going to make it. And I said, God, why do you give me something and then take it away? What's the deal here? And he was born prematurely, but it was a successful operation and they sent him for a bunch of tests. He was born into full withdrawals and they diagnosed him with leukemia. So I thought, God, I've got enough struggles in my life right now. Don't do this. And for the 3 months he was in hospital before they released him to us, I had to go in daily and feed him because the mom was not allowed to go in. And I went and I would take the breast milk and I would go feed him and I'll sit with him. And I built a bond with my son that is extremely special to me. And I realized that I do have a higher purpose in life. I do have a calling and God's grace is sufficient for me. And he was discharged from hospital and I continued using. I could not break free from the chains of addiction. And I remember on the 28th of August 2012, he turned a year old. And that was my last cry out for help. I said, Mom, God's going to take him away from me if I don't fix my life out now. And my mom got me into a rehab. And I decided I'm going to do this for him. Once again, the biggest fault we in recovery make is we always do it for someone else. And I dedicated everything for him. I was in treatment and on the 3rd of March 2013, late that night, it just turned the 3rd of March, I got a call. My first thought was my sister because it's her birthday on the 3rd of March. And I was like, I started singing on the phone because I was still asleep and at that time I was still needing medications. And it was a call to tell me that my son passed away. And I dropped the call. I said, this is impossible. And I went to God. I said, God, please tell me this is a lie. And the next morning I went to the owner of the rehab and his wife. I said, please phone this number and ask them, what is the truth? Is my son alive or has my son passed on? And they made the call and they got the house together and they said to me, Cristo, your son has passed away. And as an addict, that's one of the 3 most traumatic events of your life is death of a loved one. And I had options. I had options to go and use or I had options to stay clean. And my option was to stay clean. I did relapse on other substances, but not my substance of choice because I just couldn't get to it. I remember going to the shower that afternoon because I was devastated. It felt like I've lost my life. It felt like I have passed away. And I remember going into the shower and as I was leaning my head against the shower because I had no power to keep myself up, I saw him in a vision in a yellow suit with a rainbow ball playing in a puddle of water. And I remember going to my pastor and I said, what does this mean? And he said that God wants to assure you that he's safe now and he's happy. And it took me quite a few years to accept the fact that he's no longer there because I had this dream of raising this rugby player and this soccer player and this role model for other people because I never had that. I never had a father that wanted to raise me into something. I had a mom They had to work her fingers off just to provide for us. And there was never father involved. And the father I had involved was not my father, so I could not relate to him. I could not call him dad. And I wanted someone to call me dad. And I remember the last words of my son, who was a year and 6 months old basically. And his first and his last words was Dada. And it was a changing point in my life, and that is where I decided that I've been called for a greater purpose. And I had a few fights with God about this, because why does He put me in a situation like this? And I had a dream to become an IT manager, and I had a dream to become a chef, and I had a dream to become everything but what I am today. And it just reminds me of the story in the Bible where Jacob went from the pit to the palace. We have our plans, but God has His ultimate plan for our lives. And that is why I'm here. That is why I'm committed to the vision. That is why I'm committed to helping addicts. And I've had a question over the weekend is there a certain race? Is there a certain age group? Is there a certain gender that falls into addiction? I said, you know what? My youngest patient right now, service user, is 18. And my oldest is going for 50. So there's no boundaries. Addiction chooses exactly who it wants to choose. So that's basically my story. I have been abused a lot, especially because of the fact that I was homosexual. I was, and just before I came back to Joburg from Cape Town, I remember that there was a pastor one night and was busy on the street ministry, and he came to me and he said to me, do I know God? I said, you need to leave here because God is nothing but a mere figment of crazy people's imagination. And he said, if you were raped and killed tonight because of your sexuality, where will you go? I said, I'll have eternal peace. So go before my pimp gets to you. And I could still see him in the shadow of my eye, and I was grabbed by 9 Nigerian men. And I was raped and left for dead. I still have marks on my back. I don't easily walk without a shirt because I've been physically hit with shambox and sticks and spanners and everything they could get their hands on. And they left me for dead. I remember the biggest fear I had when I woke up there is that I'm HIV positive, because I was torn apart. I was broken down to pieces, and that was just one of my experiences of abuse because of who I am and what I chose in life. And I remember that I didn't have money for a fix, and I didn't have money to pay my rent that night, and I had no choice but to get the blood off my body and go stand and wait for someone to pick me up. Although I didn't know how I would be able to take it, I had to do it. I had to get the money to pay my rent, otherwise I would be homeless. And if I was homeless, things would have turned out for the worse. And that pastor came back and he said, Romans 12:2 says, do not be conformed to the things of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And he gave me money. And he said, get to the closest police station, report the case, get to hospital, get yourself on treatment. And he prayed for me. And by the grace of God, I'm HIV negative. But gender-based violence is something that is quite close to my heart. I have the utmost respect for women, and I do believe that they're being targeted because of their feminine side and their soft side, and they are unable to stand up for themselves because they love a man. And I know of a lot of gender-based violence through the counseling that I'm doing, and people, it's really admitting to the fact that they did it, but they're sorry for it, and the way they feel about it. So Cristo stands against gender-based violence. I stand against violence of any type towards any person strongly. Because of someone's gender or sexuality or whatever, there's no reason to physically harm them. Child abuse is even worse. And I had this dream when I was 7 years old that I would become president of the Republic of South Africa. And I wanted to achieve that for one reason, and that was to stop gender-based violence. Because I grew up in a home where my mom was physically beaten, where one of my stepdads physically assaulted us, all the children. I come from my sisters in all their relationships where they were and they are being physically abused, and it's something that I cannot handle. But the first thought that was in my head was, I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to stop it because the answer is yes. Addiction and substance abuse, or abuse of anything, any addiction basically. When we look at gambling addiction, when we look at pornography addiction, when we look at drug addiction, when we look at alcoholism, when we look at any form of addiction, it leads to gender-based violence, because the man needs to do what he needs to do to get to his next fix. And even if that is verbally, physically, or emotionally abusing his partner. So definitely yes, there is no doubt in my mind. If we look at what happened during lockdown, the gender-based violence statistics rose to an unacceptable percentage in South Africa for the mere fact that men could not get what they wanted. And they took it out on their wives and their fiancés and their girlfriends. And I remember someone phoned me one night late. We were, I think, about 2 weeks into lockdown. One of my friends phoned me and she said to me, Cristo, he's abusing me because we can't get alcohol anyway. I said, well, you get out now. She says, but I don't have a permit. I said, I'm organizing a permit right now. You get out of that house and you go to your family. And she says, but you are the pastor. You are the pastor of this relationship. And you said, we are not allowed to divorce under any circumstances. I said, you divorce now. There's one thing that I will not tolerate. So, and I saw that addiction, that was my confirmation. It was always had the idea that it is because of substance abuse or abuse or addiction of any kind. And that was my confirmation that even the softest men that I know, the men that has the softest hearts and the most caring personalities, they do turn to gender-based violence once they cannot or have too much of their fix. So my answer is definitely yes. We are quite new in the industry, so right now we are looking at, firstly, what we do here is we've got a letter from social development saying that our care shows because we do not look at the financial status of a family before we admit them. We are really lenient towards helping our people no matter where they come from. We have a policy that says no discrimination based on age, sex, race, gender, background, class, creed, whatever. We do not look at where they come from and what their wealth status is at the moment. We believe that everyone everyone should have access to quality treatment. So when people look at our books, they do not understand how we make it, and that is for now what we can do to help communities and to help families and to help sponsors. We are also, I spoke to someone this morning, that we are launching our Christmas shoebox project, where we will pack boxes with the basic necessities for those on the streets. In Pretoria East, I have seen a lot more females on the streets than in any other area. And I drove past someone last night looking for someone. And I broke down in tears because she was physically beaten up and left on the streets because the pimp wasn't happy with her not being able to meet the daily requirements. So that drove me to getting an initiative on the go where we can, for now, at least for Christmas, give everyone access to a food parcel, toiletries, necessities for females. I've also partnered with Dagboek van Ouer, their Facebook page, where I would like to donate sanitary products to female facilities where there is a huge shortage right now. I believe it's a basic human right, and I believe that it should be as freely available as condoms. I do believe that, and it is not so. I have partnered with them this morning. I said whatever we can do to provide this basic human right to females. And then we have an extensive rollout program ready that is being launched at the beginning of January 2021, where we are going to roll out the same model across all 9 provinces, but also focus on a female section. Because treatment for females and shelters for females and protection for females is currently non-existent. Most rehabs focus on the male addict and his needs, which is gender-based violence for me. It constitutes gender-based violence. And someone asked me over the weekend, why do I not help females? I said, because I do not have the necessary knowledge, but we have created our board over the weekend, and our board is 90% females. And that means that we now have the knowledge and the empowerment to take this model and give it to females as well. Give them quality, luxurious treatment, the same as males. The only reason I do not want to combine them is because then I will stand for gender-based violence again. I've seen gender-based violence in rehab so many times, and I would rather have 2 separate facilities, one catering for the needs of males and one catering for needs of females. But the need for female shelters is way more required right now, especially after lockdown, especially after our economical circumstances. Where our country is right now, government is not involved, and the female places are failing. They are failing miserably. I know of a female facility that I had a huge heart for that has recently closed their doors because there was no government funding. The government just stopped the funding during the lockdown period. So that means that 85 females are now either in the hands of someone that's abusive, or on the streets, or selling their bodies, or in a ditch, dead somewhere. So our future endeavor is to be the rehab of choice, to be the secondary care facility of choice, the half house of choice, and the serve house of choice, with beds in all 9 provinces, catering from the one that cannot afford it to even the highest executive of our country. That is our mission, and that is our vision, and that is where we are heading to. We've got 3 keywords that matters the most to us, and that is authority, purpose, and poise in life. And we believe on giving the authority to everyone, giving the purpose to everyone, and giving poise to everyone. And our founding scripture is Hebrews 4, which says that we will enter his rest. And I believe that every addict should enter God's rest.